New artwork revealed, Franklin voice actor confirmed, and new vehicles spotted in old shots. Hi, welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. Hope you're well out there. I'm Tim Weaver. I'm here with our GTA expert, Dan Dawkins. How you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good day to you.
We've got lots for you this week. A bit of a mixed bag, but not in a negative sense. But Dan, first of all, number one, remind people what our Twitter account is.
Yeah, you can follow us on @GTAV o'clock. Thank you to everyone who joined last week. We had another 200 to 300 followers last week. It's a great source to keep up to date with the show, and we'll provide you with all the latest news, links and shots.
Please subscribe to the show as well so you don't miss another episode. You can click on the screen now. Dan, before we kick off, I'm hearing, and this is coming down the news wires right now, that you have got some super exciting news.
Yeah, exciting
news.
news.
And it's not that you're having a second baby.
No, it isn't. Well, there's two parts. In fact, I won't even say the second part. But basically, there's good news coming for the show, but I'm not allowed to say what it is. And it's related to the good news we promised we have ages ago, but I think it's finally coming to fruition. Stay tuned. In the next few weeks, it will be worth it. That's all I can say.
We'll also at the end be answering your questions. We've been through your comments from last week. Thank you to everyone who commented, who corrected us, who asked questions. We'll attempt to get through as much of that as we possibly can. So we'll kick off then, Dan, with two new pieces of artwork that have been released this week. One of Michael and one of Franklin. Talk us maybe through the Michael one first.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic image, as in one we've seen before, of Michael on the Speedophile 2000 jet ski. I think the only thing that I thought was interesting is when you look at the official caption Rockstar provided, both shots have got the broad title of Cash and Carry. Now, in both cases, the characters are carrying like money swag bags and using that form of transport as a means of escape. I'm presuming to put two and two together.
Yeah,
so,
it would certainly look like it, yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked previously about how the bag over Franklin's shoulder when he's on the motorbike is similar to the bag that the three of them were carrying on the official artwork of the Game Informer cover. So it seems that, that's the money bag they used to escape from the mission, and would tie into what we said about the main heist missions of the game being sort of multi-stage, and perhaps you have like a pursuit or escape stage during one part of it, and they could be like really big Hollywood style, blockbuster stuff. And in fact, we've got a little link on that we'll save for later on in the Q&A section, but it could tie directly to why Michael is on the Speedophile jet ski.
One of the things I noticed just looking at the pieces of artwork on the Rockstar website is that you mentioned the cash and carry thing. They've also been labelled, sort of sub-labelled, by sea, by land, and that's all got me thinking. And I was wondering whether it might point towards the fact that during missions, each of the characters, we know the three characters will you'll be able to switch between them and that kind of thing. I wonder whether it might mean they may even come in, by land and by sea, approach a mission on the water or on land or even via air. There wasn't a by air piece of artwork, but it just made me think. Wonder whether there could possibly be a mission where they start off at such disparate points, like one on the other side of a massive body of water, and one taking a helicopter from the top of a skyscraper, and one taking it from a garage in the middle of downtown or something, and they all kind of converge on the same spot.
Yeah, I agree. I think there'll be missions that will have a sort of planes, trains and automobiles feel about them, where you'll start using one form of transport and end on something completely unpredictable and bizarre.
One other thing I noticed, Dan, was that Michael seems to be wearing a bulletproof vest, so it looks like he's probably escaping from law enforcement or being followed in some way and possibly being shot at.
Yeah, I think it's interesting as well because the vest is like underneath. It looks like almost like he's stripped off a layer of clothing on top to get down to that garb there. So again, you could try and put two and two together and say maybe he's whipped off the Bugstar dual heist clothes there.
That's a good shout.
And underneath he's got the bulletproof vest and a pair of shorts. Or again, it could be another uniform or piece of outfit that he's ripped off to get onto the jet ski and escape with the money or the diamonds.
Only other thing I've got to add to those two pieces of artwork, Dan, I'm sure you've already spotted this and the guys out there already have, is that in the background of the Michael shot is Santa Monica Pier, and in the Franklin shot piece of artwork, I think he appears to be in the storm drains there. So that we talked a bit about that last week, how the river system might work and how certain locations will be very central, like the coroner's office. I think we said was close to the storm drains, and we saw last week Franklin with his minigun blowing up the coroner's office, and I speculated that he might use the storm drains as some sort of getaway. So moving on then, Dan, from those pieces of artwork, we also had speculation this week based around more artwork, this time of 3 rappers or hip-hop stars. Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, this did the news rounds just a couple of days ago. There was images apparently placed on Instagram of Rick Ross, Tiger, and the Game, or Game, depending how you want to call him. And again, there was supposed to be like hints that these characters were in GTA 5. Now, I think subsequently this artwork, which is kind of, it's the the artists in question replicated in the GTA style. People have said that in fact that originated on a forum and it's bogus.
Right.
But the Game was interviewed, I think sometime during November last year, on a radio or sort of YouTube talk station, where he did say that he'd recorded some stuff for the new GTA game.
Yeah.
And I think he said he'd be reprising his role from San Andreas, because he was in San Andreas. Yeah. Is it as Wayne Beadup?
Yes, that sounds right. So
there does seem to be a grain of sense in that. So I think the Game's involvement, would be quite possible. And again, in San Andreas, that character he plays is like one of the Grove Street gang who moves away to deal pretty heavily in drugs, and that character sort of refuses to help CJ and everyone because he's got a vested interest in perpetuating the drug games. That's where he's making his money. So it could be that he reappears as a kind of West Coast drug baron villain figure.
Do you think because we talked last week about the rumours about the Grove Street gang and how they might be back and how there might be some nods towards it. Do you think this is where those rumours have come from, as the Game's involvement, do you think?
I mean, possibly it adds to it. I mean, like a lot of people did notice in the comments last week, and Rockstar had said this, is that the old generation GTA universes and the next generation, as in I say PS3 universes, aren't necessarily the same. So I think they said that in relation to characters like maybe Claude or CJ returning. They sort of said they won't because they're from that era, the PS2 era.
Yeah.
We're now living in the PS3 era. But whether that applies to strict geography, I don't know. And I mean, they can play fast and loose with it, so I wouldn't rule out a return for Grove Street.
What about Rick Ross and Tiger? I guess up for grabs.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no information on that, and it does just seem like it's some wonderful artwork that lends it credibility, even though it's just fan artwork.
Okay, moving on then. A few weeks ago, regular listeners might remember that we put together our best GTA songs of all time, and we did you did, Dan, an official Spotify playlist of songs that we felt were the best in the GTA multiverse, and Rockstar have done the same this week, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, ours was the unofficial playlist.
But I think we can say it's officially the best one, obviously.
Oh, it's clearly the best one, but Rockstar, obviously, have got their own ideas. It was, I wouldn't want to pretend that we somehow created the GTA universe when, of course, we didn't. And I think Rockstar have perhaps seen what we've done and sort of reclaimed ownership of the soundtracks within their own games by issuing like a super definitive set of Spotify and iTunes playlists, which contain, where ours was like basically a medley of say 90 great songs from GTA history.
Yeah.
Which is pretty heavy on the 80s.
Well, very heavy on the 80s.
What Rockstar have done is take methodically pretty much every single radio station from the following games and giving you the key tracks from them. So they've got full radio channel playlists from GTA 4 and episodes from Liberty City, from GTA San Andreas, from Vice City, from GTA 3, from GTA Liberty City Stories, from GTA Vice City Stories, and GTA Chinatown Wars. Now that is one exhaustive set of playlists. So exhaustive, you may as well just go on the GTA 5 o'clock one and save yourself some time.
Yeah.
Particularly if you like the 80s.
Particularly if you like the 80s. I was just about to add this exact same thing, yeah. And while we're on the subject of old GTA games, Dan, this week they released maps for Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories as well.
Yeah, the games are returning on PSN, and Rockstar have released the maps of both games in high res as a HD download. Little more to add than that, but they're fun to look at, and I wonder if they'll do similar for other games and or leading up to the release of GTA 5.
It was actually very interesting looking back at those, kind of getting going down memory lane and kind of remembering how you played those games. I mean, it's sort of fun to see how they kind of were, because when you're in that world, you don't really get necessarily like a keen sense of the geography of the place until you've played it for quite a time, and after a while, obviously, years later, I'm finding it sort of hard to remember the geography at all. So it was nice to look at those maps and kind of remember how like spending so much time in. I didn't play Liberty City Stories as much, but Vice City definitely. Yeah, I mean it's been really fun to kind of have a look at that and remember the missions and the kind of world that they built. So next thing is this next sort of section is really interesting, Dan, because as you'll explain, we've got some pretty good ideas now. We're starting to get some pretty good ideas of who is involved in the game in terms of voice acting. We just talked about the 3 hip-hop stars, one of which may be in it, and the other 2 may or probably won't be. But we think we've got pretty good confirmation that of some other people. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, this is all spun from the fact that this week an actor called Jeff Wincott has been outed on his IMDb profile as appearing in GTA 5, and he said he's going to play a character called Casey.
Right.
Now, if you look through the official GTA timeline and canon, there aren't any proper Caseys. There's someone who's called Casey something, I think, in one of the other games, but he's not a major character. And in fact, in GTA London 1961, there's a character called something like Mick Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, who I think is an Irish criminal.
Right.
But I don't think...
No,
I just think these are incidental details.
Yeah, that's pure coincidence.
But again, what it's worth linking it to, and this is what I look back on, is last year we talked about a casting call, the Telsey and Grammar casting calls for GTA 5 that were codenamed the Rush casting calls, and it was from this casting list that we were able to pull out character descriptions for characters that became Michael, someone who broadly sounded like Trevor, for someone who sounded like Michael's son, for a guy called Nervous Jerry, who sounds like one of the guys we see possibly in the trailers with Trevor. Basically it seemed like the broad archetypes that we see in GTA 5 were outlined in the casting call. Now, looking at Jeff Wincott's career, he fits the profile, as in he's not a huge Hollywood celebrity. He's kind of a jobbing TV actor.
Yeah, his brother's more famous. Michael Wincott, people might have heard of. He was in Alien Resurrection and that kind of thing.
So, but he has done a lot of good work, and he's appeared recently in things like The Good Wife. He appeared in Blue Bloods, sort of a cameo appearance as Captain Mancuso. He was in Person of Interest as Lieutenant Alan Gilmore, and he also appeared in The Wire. Now, looking at the sort of heritage of characters he's played, it's got kind of a police chief, lieutenant-y feel about it. If you go through the Rush casting call, there's a character called Calvin North, who's 55. He's described as a clapped-out FBI agent who now mostly works offering advice on TV shows. His only claim to fame turns out to be entirely false, but he's a decent guy in other ways. Badly dressed, divorced, and he's putting on weight. He was kind of like an over-the-hill FBI dude. I thought it was interesting because Calvin North is 55, but right now Jeff Wincott would be 56.
And looks good on it, Dan.
He looks incredibly good on it, you've got to say that. So he doesn't look like he's badly dressed, divorced, or putting on weight, but he's only there to do the voice.
Yeah.
And certainly, the age profile's pretty much bang on. He's certainly got a background in playing FBI-style characters.
Yeah.
And again, it's a danger of always putting two and two together to make Swiss cheese, but I think that this, to me, sounds like a good fit. And it's not a character we've seen through the trailers yet, but there did seem to be, in the Rush casting call, a very definite strand of almost like an FBI strand to the cast list, balanced by a sort of renegade criminal side. Now, we've seen the renegade criminal side in Michael, Franklin and Trevor, but we haven't seen much of the FBI style of the cast yet, because the Rush casting call also talks about a character called Mitch Hayes, who's 38, annoying, wisecracking, highly successful FBI agent. And it almost seems like there was like an equal FBI agent for every criminal agent.
So why do you think that is? Do you think that comes down to what we were talking about a few episodes ago about Trevor and Michael possibly being, well, Michael definitely being in witness protection and Trevor possibly being in there as well, and that kind of playing out throughout the game? Do you think that's why they're asking for so many FBI characters?
Yeah, I think it must be part of it. The fact they are in the FIB protection program, and they would obviously at some stage be dealing with FBI people. In fact, we know they do a mission for the FIB.
Yeah.
Now, that's the mission that Rockstar demoed. So you are going to see FIB people in the main plot. So Rockstar haven't really revealed this yet, but I think like a significant cast of like, you know, official law doers, it makes perfect sense. And you know, hey, we'll see. And again, it's slightly crass because I'm saying the guy in the Rush casting call was called Calvin, and he's, you know, apparently named Casey. It might just be the fact I've got the word C and said, well, it's similar, but broadly it sounds like it's describing the same character. There's a lot of matches.
But I mean, in the casting call, they're not going to. They don't give them the real names anyway. So there's a good chance that if Casey is his real name, if that's the character he's playing in the game, then that doesn't necessarily write off the possibility that he is this Calvin North guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so well, I use actor in the loosest possible sense of the word, but another person who's been linked to GTA 5 this week is a wrestler and aspiring actor called Robert Esparza, Dan, or AKA the real Thunderwolf.
Yeah, what a great subtitle that is. He's not so known as the real Thunderwolf that we actually knew who he was.
No,
but,
and to be honest, even the wrestling people with wrestling knowledge in the office didn't know who he was either.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, this tweet is one that time forgot because this isn't like new news. This is a tweet from, I think, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. It just flew under the radar at the time. But this guy claimed to have had his body scanned for a role in the video game Rush, which does tie together the name of the casting call to what we know now to be GTA 5. So there is a credible thread in it, and it almost sounds like the words of someone who doesn't know better, just describing what he's done. Now, if he's had his body scanned, it could just be he's taking part in a particular tiny section of the game, and we'll link to this later on. But one of the big set of GTA 5 rumours in the past was about there being a cage fighting stroke wrestling mini game within GTA 5.
Right.
So I wonder, and this is speculation, whether this guy just got his motions mocap for like a fighting or brawling bit.
I see, right, okay. Interesting. What about slightly bigger news? Franklin's voice actor. Has that been confirmed this week, Dan? Can we tell people who it is, or is it still speculation? This
again is kind of a dredge up of an old rumour that time forgot, but the talk at the time was a guy called Sean Fonteno, who's actually AKA OG Solo.
Yeah, right.
Which I must admit I didn't know.
No, I didn't know that.
But the GTA forums had made a big case for him actually being the voice actor of Franklin in GTA 5. And there's a little video you can watch on the GTA 5 forums of this guy, you know, showing off his voice and comparing it to what we've seen of Franklin. And you know, it's pretty hard to pin down, but it does sound a bit like him.
They do definitely. They don't sound dissimilar. Let's put it that way.
No, absolutely not. And what was interesting is at the time is apparently OG Solo, or this Sean Fonteno, he closed his Twitter account a few days after it had come out that he claimed he was, you know, taking part in GTA 5. And apparently, and I've not verified this, so people can correct me if it's wrong, apparently he was being followed by Young Malay, who was CJ from GTA San Andreas, DJ Pooh, who's also worked on GTA games, and he was being followed by Ned Luke, who, as we know, well, we think we know, is the voice of Michael.
Yeah.
So it does potentially tie up. And again, he fits the profile of not being especially well known. That, you know, and again, the kind of jobbing actor type that they seem to be targeting for GTA 5.
So that's the actors, Dan, that people have been talking about and we've been speculating on. We're going to talk aeroplanes now. Did we spot GTA 5 aeroplanes in Max Payne, or rather, has the internet spotted it?
Yeah, well, again, this did the rounds, I don't know, about sort of 3 to 6 months ago, maybe even a bit longer. Apparently, there is on a wall in Max Payne images of 4 aircraft that look uncannily similar to aircraft we've subsequently seen in GTA 5 in the trailers. But on screen now you'll be able to see those, 4 aircraft and 1 pinned below, and we think we can name almost all of them. Do you want to take us through them?
Yeah, so there's 5 there actually, but I think the one that's pinned below is possibly the same aircraft as the one in the bottom left of
that's what
the
I think. Yeah.
So I think the bottom left looks like a lot like a Hydra. Bottom right looks a lot like a Shamal.
And what is a Shamal?
Shamal is the plane that you see at the end of the first trailer, I think, the one that's going off into the sunset. Or sunrise. No, sunset I think it was. And then top right I think looks like an Andromeda, or very close to it. Top left we're not so sure, so we're going to push it out to you guys, see if you can narrow it down. Dan, what about the map just above them?
Yeah, well, this is interesting. We were looking at the map and trying to sort of overlay it on what we know of the Los Santos or Los Angeles map. And again, this is hard to describe with words.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can do a bit of visual trickery on screen that should enable you to see what we mean. But if you sort of take that little bit of cut section and overlay it on the southern tip of Los Angeles, where you've got sort of San Pedro and Long Beach, you can see where the sea could possibly cut in. And could it be that they're hinting at a little bit of Los Angeles geography?
Yeah, I mean it might not be, but it could be. It could be the area around Long Beach there, possibly. But anyway, it's a nice little extra that if Rockstar have done that, then that's a lovely bit of foreshadowing, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, so I want to say about the planes that we talked about their technical names, but you've obviously got a range of things from a fighter jet to a sort of more larger aircraft liner to, I mean, is that a bomber, the Andromeda?
The Andromeda, well, it looks like it in the picture, but I don't think it's really built for that. I think we speculated that Trevor might be flying an Andromeda in one of the screenshots. So
right.
I don't think in GTA 5. I don't think it's used for that purpose. But that certainly the one in the bottom right looks uncannily like a Shamal. Certainly the end. I don't know what you call it. What do you call it? The end of the plane, the wingtip. I don't know.
Yeah. The tail.
The tail. There we go, Dan. There we go.
And the other one looks kind of like a private jet. So I think we've got like a lot of bases covered there. It seems peculiar to me to have 4 randomly well-modelled and mapped planes plonked in another Rockstar game. And let's face it, they clearly were thinking about GTA 5 when they made Max Payne. Hence the fact that the multiplayer clans carry over the crews. So I think it's possibly a little deliberate bit of cheekery.
Okay, next then, Dan, websites. We know that Rockstar have secured a number of URLs for use in and around the game. Do you want to talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, this won't take long. Basically, I've been fine-combing through stuff we know that was related to GTA 5 in history. They registered a couple of websites, including cashfordeaddreams.com and sixfiguretemps.com. I visited those sites this morning, and the shock news is they redirect to absolutely nothing. Just a blank white page.
Well, literally nothing.
Unless my browser had gone on the cronk, they just go to an empty white page. So if Rockstar have registered them, they're definitely not active things right now.
Yeah, Dan's just checking. Six-figure temps. That sounds like some sort of recruitment agency.
Yeah, again, all these different names. Oh, hello. Well, that now is redirecting to what looks like a spam sitter site with a serious looking man in a suit and people saying cheat GTA trailer, GTA Andreas cheats. That's not an official. I think either they've let that page go or someone's tanked up on it, and you could probably do a little IP search and tell us more about that. But what's clear is that Rockstar haven't followed that up officially yet.
Related to that, Dan, let's talk a bit about the Epsilon project.
Well, this is official, as in it's officially related to GTA 5, and in fact one of the pre-order incentives for GTA 5 was to get yourself an Epsilon t-shirt as a pre-order incentive, and the immortal phrase Kiflom. Kiflom. Now the Epsilon project seems like a pretty clear spoof of a respected following such as Scientology. So Yeah, and they did quite a lot of work on this through social media. And the last tweet on the Epsilon Project Twitter account was on the 27th of November. And in fact, they did 70 tweets in total. And the last one sort of promised us an online study program coming soon.
Right.
Now, whether they've had to bin this off, it's interesting that it might just be that Rockstar had bold plans to start like an interactive viral website where you actually did learn the rules of the Epsilon Project. It could be that it's yet to happen, or it could be they've just binned it off because in the scale of things that's not as important as like actually finishing GTA.
Yeah.
So, again, it could be like an interesting idea that they've abandoned. But 11,000 people follow that account, and it's just been dormant for say 4 or 5 months today.
Is it possible that it's just been delayed by the delay? Maybe they'll pick it up over the summer.
It could be. I mean, of course, there's no point going, full steam into a sort of niche viral website when you've not got anything to show of the main game. So perhaps it will pick up again later on, or quite possibly, they've just had to shelve it and they'll hope everyone forgets about it. But not on GTA 5, the elephant fact show that never forgets.
We don't forget anything. Okay, Dan, so that's everything. We've rounded up everything we know about. We've dug around and found out over the past week, stuff that has been sort of sitting there dormant for a while that we feel might become relevant. New stuff, including the artwork this week. Let's talk about the reaction to last week's show and the new screenshots that we got in. A few people had some things to say, picked us up on a few things. Maybe you want to pick us up. I was going to say that doesn't make any sense, but anyway,
I'll pick us up.
Yeah.
Alexander Dittamus said, and we've already mentioned this. He made, and a few people did. He made the distinction. He said, "There's no Grove Street because GTA 5 doesn't exist in the same universe as GTA San Andreas." He says GTA 4 and 5 live in the same universe.
Yeah.
They're completely different. He says one is a 2D universe and the other is 3D, but in fact that's wrong. Because San Andreas was perfectly in 3D.
Yeah.
It's just that it was in the old generation.
Isn't it HD and isn't this new one referred to as the HD era?
Yeah, it's the HD era. So he's trying to make the right point. This was interesting as well. Someone called the ND Farmer said, he goes, "I may be reading way too much into this, but the screenshot with the police chopper and the Hollywood Bowl, the one we looked at last week with the spotlight," he says, "I noticed the cops are after the green Infernus. But what was the colour of the car they were always talking about in GTA San Andreas? That's right, the green Sabre. Is this a nod towards San Andreas?"
That's a great point, actually. That's a nice spot, that, isn't it?
It is a good spot. And he says, maybe the organisation that had the green Sabre is just about to get caught. Now, this again could be a little bit of wishful thinking, but I like a little bit of wishful thinking, and I think that could possibly have some crumb of truth in it.
Yeah.
Because there was a mission called, wasn't there, the Green Sabre.
Yeah.
But I have nothing more to add.
But it'd be interesting that if that was true, that we've just completely disregarded the whole one's an HD era, one's a what is the one that precedes the HD era? I've forgotten. Standard definition?
The SD era.
SD era, okay.
Confused with the STD era.
Okay.
It was far more challenging.
Yeah. But I suppose they do bring vehicles up through the series, don't they? It's not,
Again, whether vehicles are allowed to exist across universes, whether, houses are exempt. We don't know whether areas are exempt.
I mean, they do though, don't they? Because we've had vehicles already in GTA 5 that have stretched back right the way to Vice City and San Andreas and GTA 3.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know if the rules are hard and fast. I think they were just trying to, when they sort of went. Well, I think it was Hauser, wasn't it, when he was talking about it, saying that he was just trying to make a clear distinction between the character. It was more a character thing, wasn't it? Than
Yeah, exactly, more of a character thing. Because I think, again, they wanted to quell fans going, "Oh my God, it's Claude! Oh my God, it's Tommy Vercetti!
Yeah.
Oh, CJ spotted in the background of a shot." I think they just wanted to politely say, "Stop the polite madness."
Yeah.
And let's move on, people.
Yeah. Next, Dan.
K. Don Willis says to us, essentially, "Look at the gas station. It's in Korean." Because we spent a long time, last episode, trying to decrypt what looked like sort of Asian lettering and making a right hand fist of it. And this guy said, "Look at the gas station, it's Korean." A lot of people pointed out that, well, of course it's Korean, because in one of the motorway or freeway signs, we see the words Little Seoul. That's in trailer number 1. So Little Seoul would seem to be a pretty obvious link to an area in real life known as Koreatown, and this is again what we touched upon last week.
Yeah.
And so that's a neighbourhood in the Wiltshire district. It's one of the most densely populated areas in all of LA, and I stayed there at E3 last year, and it was fine.
Yeah.
And I had breakfast at 4 in the morning at the, what's the chain of things that's open all night there?
In-N-Out Burger?
Oh, whatever, I've got it, I won't know, so there's no point me embarrassing myself any further.
Okay.
And yeah, that was that. And finally, Pure Assassin XS
Sounds scary.
Yep. He says, if you look closely at the screenshots with a man jumping out of a plane, on his helmet there seems to be like an ace. Ace, comma, which? I don't quite understand that. He says, which is a tattoo.
An ace, he means like an ace, the sort of ace you get on a card.
Yeah, like an ace of
like
spades.
Like a playing card, yeah.
Yeah, and he says, that's a tattoo on Trevor's arm. So he says, could this person be Trevor? Like he's got a customised helmet?
That's a good spot, actually.
Yeah, I've not checked that, but that sounds interesting. And in fact, a few people have picked us up on this and said, in the screenshot of Trevor, where he's sort of being chased by the sort of SUV vehicles that are with the characters blanked out, and you speculated that that's sort of standard FBI SWAT riding formation. Well, a lot of people have commented to corroborate that and say, yes, that is what the SWAT teams do. There's an episode of Breaking Bad where they do it, where they're hanging off the back. And some guy says he's very disappointed in us and that we couldn't see it and that we didn't notice the red and blue pursuit lights on top of the police vehicle. So I'm sorry to have disappointed everyone.
Sorry to disappoint you. Really sorry about that. Okay, Dan. So I think we're ready to move on to reader questions here.
Well, you say that. These are linking actually, aren't they? You do that, Tim. Hit us with it. Hit us.
So
not physically.
Not physically. No. We're going to move on to reader questions. We've had absolutely tons of questions and some absolutely brilliant ones, some real zingers. So we're going to try and get through as many as we possibly can. Dan, I think this is the one you wanted me to start with, but I may have got it wrong. JD Walton, thank you for the question. You said, what about earthquakes in GTA 5? It is California after all.
Very interesting.
And Dan's stroking his chin here.
He's opened like a rumour network as if he was himself the San Andreas fault, revealing the truth that lies beneath.
Okay.
Because through backcombing loads of old GTA factoids, I revisited a big rumour drop that happened back in November the 5th, 2011, by a guy who claimed to have worked for the PlayStation magazine in the UK. Now, he didn't actually cite the brand name of the PlayStation mag he worked for, and I will add, we work for the company that not only publishes the official PlayStation magazine, but my former magazine, PSM3, and I can confirm that that person doesn't work for any of those publications. And in fact, the other big UK publishing house came out and said he didn't work for them either. So the source, or who he claims to be, is nonsense, effectively. So that side of this is discredited. But the information this person relayed over, coming up for a year and a half or so ago now, as time has gone on, the information has, if anything, only looked more credible.
Yeah.
Now, I'll get onto the tremors and the rumour and stuff in a minute, but essentially, what the PlayStation magazine rumours we're calling it said. It said, the main city is bigger than Los Santos by the order of 4 times, which is pretty broadly true.
Yeah.
It talked about a drive from the wilderness to the city that took over 15 minutes that, again, we've not seen, but sounds like a big enough timescale. Now, again, this seems correct from what we've seen of the trailers and the screenshots. He says, the views were incredible from farmhouses with cattle, huge wind farms, and an oil refinery, which seemed to be living and breathing with hundreds of NPCs, which sounds and looks like a lot of what we've seen in screenshots subsequent.
Well, we've seen huge wind farms, and we've seen an oil refinery, or at least an oil pump anyway. Yeah,
so all those things have come to pass. Now, and he says as well, the forests are more beautiful than those in Red Dead Redemption, featured people camping, young people drinking, dancing around campfires, people riding dirt bikes and jumping over logs, streams, etc. Again, this all ties in with what we've seen of the sort of the Mount Chiliad geography, with the 3 climbers in the first trailer who seem to appear at the bottom of a mountain. It's worth noting that this rumour came out 3 days after the first trailer. So it's obviously possible that he watched that trailer, had a think, and came up with loads of very plausible theories. But it's this next layer of stuff that wasn't evident after the first trailer that makes it exceedingly interesting, or at worst, a very lucky piece of predictioneering.
Yep.
Now he does say, for the first time, there'll be animals in the game, from dogs to cattle. And he says, it's not confirmed if you'll be able to harm the animals. And again, we don't know that, but we've definitely seen dogs.
Yep.
We've seen Franklin's dog Chop. We've seen the dog jumping over the car. Dogs are in. He was absolutely correct on that.
Haven't Rockstar, I may have got this wrong, but haven't Rockstar already confirmed that there will be wildlife when you get up into the mountains?
I don't know, but I think it's almost certain, isn't
Yeah.
it? Surely it's almost certain. Talks about, in fact, we'll come to this later. He says he also knew that the dating aspect of the game had gone, which is true.
It is true, yeah.
Dating has gone. And he says you still have a cell phone, but only people you will meet in the game will call you to ask to do a mission or to ask you to do something before a mission, which again ties in with what we know about Rockstar have said they're paring back what the smartphone does. You're not going to be constantly answering phone calls. And this idea of doing something else before a mission sounds a bit like mission prep, like we talked about, like side missions that build to big missions, which again is themes of previous episodes. Now this was especially telling, and this is a guess, would be incredible. He said that it's possible to rupture a fuel line, and if you shoot at the trail of gasoline, it will lead straight back to the car, blowing it up. Now again, in trailer number 2, we see Trevor, leading a gasoline trail to a house and burning it,
Doing exactly that, basically.
Doing exactly that, and again, the Game Informer gameplay description describes exactly that. Now, as a guess, that's a really good guess.
Yeah.
So that was interesting as well, and this ultimately leads on to our link about will there be tremors
and earthquakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the PlayStation rumor said, way back then, 18 months ago, he said there'll be torrential rainfall and sunshine in the game.
Which, well, we saw lightning in one of the screenshots.
Exactly that, and that was a first for the series. So lightning's confirmed, which confirms, adverse weather conditions. And this guy said 18 months ago there'll even be tremors in the game.
Right. So I guess it comes down, the answer to the question is, I guess it comes down to how much credence we place in this rumour. But given that they came out a year and a half ago, and given, like you say, a lot of this has come to pass, would we be fairly sure that there would be tremors and all this other sort of stuff besides?
You can't say for sure, and it could just be that someone's made an incredibly lucky guess. I just think it's slightly uncanny how much of it has come true. And in fact, I'm struggling to find stuff in there that I could actually disprove.
Yeah.
This is where it gets ultra speculative, but even more interesting is another thing. Just one of the bullet points he predicted was, he said, one mission involves breaking out a very familiar GTA icon from a previous game. Now, we talked in a previous episode about the FIB, mission where you parasailing, what do you call it? Abseil down the side of a building and rescue a character. And we said there was speculation linking that character to a previous character from GTA. So could it be that we have in fact seen that mission?
Yeah.
Or even could it be the rumours about that mission began exactly because someone's read this rumour?
Yeah.
Because that's how the internet works.
Anyone thinking that that's going to be Claude or Tommy Vecchetti or CJ probably are barking up the wrong tree because of what we talked about just 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
This difference between standard def and HD eras. So it's likely, if this is true, to be a character I would assume from GTA 4. Will it be McCreary?
I don't know, and I think there's been a statement on this that I can't remember. I think the answer was no.
Okay.
I don't know who it could be. Could it be old B-Dup, who's being held because he's involved with the old
Maybe
Druggles?
They'll break the rules then and bring in someone from...
Yeah, and he's not a major cast member. You don't know. The final point I thought was interesting is that the PlayStation rumour said there's also a vast underground sewer network, and one mission later in the game involves a jet ski chase that culminates in a fugitive-style waterfall jump. He says there are nods to the ridiculous but awesome Ballad of Gay Tony missions. Now, I think that's interesting because we've literally seen jet skis. In fact, we've seen a new piece of art with jet skis just now. As we said, in that, it sounds like cash and carry. It sounds like Michael is escaping on the back end of a heist, which again would tie in with this. We know for a fact Rockstar are mapping large swathes of the ocean floor, so they are going to do underground detail and that kind of thing. And is it so mad to think they wouldn't map out some underground sewer network stuff? And we've seen big areas in the country, that look like you could have huge waterfall style stuff that would be like, you see in The Fugitive, where he makes that giant drop.
I think that's pretty likely. I mean, we talked last week, I think, about one of the guys. Sorry, I can't remember your name. Commented on the on whether it would be like. Remember we talked about Michael Connolly, how he last week, a thriller writer who's based his character in LA, and his first book was all about the underground sewer networks and that sort of thing. And one of the readers or listeners cited that book as an example. Could this be an underground sewer network? And the fact that LA does have such an extensive sewer network, it's got all these storm drains. I think that's pretty likely.
So I think that, to me, it's a very persuasive argument. It's obviously not confirmed. I just think it's a work of near clairvoyance to have got so much accurate 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And if someone was writing this stuff now, having seen both trailers, it might be less credible. But the fact that all this was printed 18 months ago, and again, this source claimed that it was based on 30-minute videos shown by Rockstar. Now, it could be that if you were privy to such information, you probably are a Rockstar employee.
Yeah.
There's certainly no way, for fear of your job, you could appear on a forum and say, "Hey, I work at Rockstar and I've discovered all this stuff." I think you might, if you were wanting to leak this stuff for some reason, you'd probably concoct some kind of hokum story. And hey, maybe if you were the guy who started this rumour, come out and tell me we're talking nonsense. Maybe that's true, but in which case, I tip my hat to your predictive abilities.
Kind of related to that, Dan, is a question from Ricaro564 who says, do you think there will be snow in GTA 5? So if there's lightning, there's rain, there's earthquakes, LA isn't renowned for its snow.
Yes, or snow.
It's on it's on the Pacific Ocean. It doesn't get a lot of snow. However, the mountains do.
Yeah.
I think that well, I mean, you're the expert, but I think that might be likely up in the mountains.
Yeah, I mean, in this area, my expertise is neither here nor there. I don't know. I literally don't know, and I can't remember from the screenshot of Mount Chiliad whether there's snow on the tip from trailer number 1. I don't
think so, although we haven't got it in front of us, so I may again be shown up for the fool I am.
Yeah, well, keep mugging, Tim, while I bring that up now.
Thunter992, Dan, says, do you think diving underwater will only be optional when you have a scuba suit, or can you do it whenever without it? I think he means, are you always directed there, or can you just go swimming and go diving in the ocean?
Like without your kit?
Yeah.
I don't know. And also, I will add, I've just got Mount Chiliad up on the old trailer, and I can't see any snow on it. It looks like a beautiful summer's day.
I think there'll be snow.
I completely agree.
I'm putting my neck on the line. Is that the right phrase? I'm not sure.
Put your skis on the track or whatever.
I'm putting my skis on the track. So going back to that question, diving underwater. I guess he's asking, will that have like this? Do you anticipate it having the same level of freedom as just belting around the city in a car and doing all that kind of stuff? I.e., will you be able to go diving whenever you want, with or without without a scuba suit?
Well, I guess in much the same way as you would in real life, as in, I can go diving now. It's just that I'd probably die really quickly without equipment.
So you think the game will have some sort of element where if you dive, like the previous game, where you dive, you're in the water too. In this case, diving under the water too long, it'll say you're running out of breath. You haven't got the proper gear.
Completely unrealistic otherwise. So I just think that
because the game's really realistic.
Well,
I suppose it is. Yeah,
it's
broadly
it's not fantastical, is it?
No.
It is rooted in reality, and I think whilst they're going to maybe not observe complete real life limits in terms of how long a person could hold their breath, there's going to be a broad ability. You're not just going to swim like a merman.
Yeah.
And suck up treasures with your magic gills of power.
That'd be amazing.
I mean, that would be ludicrous.
Maybe that'll do DLC.
No, you're not going to be able to do that. So I'm not. This is a ridiculous question, Tim. I'm no longer addressing it.
All right, fair enough. Quick question, Dan. A really quick one. Bidaru Mihai says, "What do you think about hunting or fishing in the game? Is that going to happen?" I think he means hunting wild animals in the mountains. I think we sort of touched on that before, and you said you don't know.
Yeah, it's a nice idea. It ties into themes of Red Dead. I don't think you're about to become like a Rockies hunter. You know, maybe there'd be a cool side mission if you did go out into the Rockies and collect scalps or something. You know, that might be a kind of a cool thing. But again, like we just said, it's in dangerous territory of veering away from the quasi-reality of the universe. And I don't know. I think the idea of a Bigfoot coming back into it actually is kind of fun, and I think that you possibly will be able to get certain types of fish, and it may be similar to some of the things we've seen in Far Cry 3, where you collect, you know, different sort of trophies, and similar to Red Dead. So yeah, a long way of saying yes.
You mentioned Bigfoot. I wasn't going to ask this, but actually MKA, I think he means productions, but he's pronounced it produtions. Apology if it is produtions. Will we be able to just find Bigfoot, and will there be any other mythical creatures? We don't know for sure, but it's interesting you mentioned Bigfoot. It appeared in DLC for Red Dead. Do you think they're going to propagate any kind of... I mean, it's all part of the fun of GTA, isn't it?
Yeah, I think given that all the hoo-ha, and it was like its own little cult of finding Bigfoot in San Andreas, even though he basically wasn't there. And they played on that in the first trailer, where the Los Santos Police Department logo's actually got something that looks like Bigfoot in one of the panels.
Right.
So they're clearly playing on it, and I think it would be fun to throw it in. It's not to say they will, but I think it's a really cool, fun thing to do. And whether they can legitimately put in some other part of mythology, I don't know, but it all becomes a bit Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull if they do it wrong.
Yeah. 2 questions left then, Dan. Brandy Storm says, do you think we'll be able to go to concert and gigs at the Hollywood Bowl, e.g. Love Fist? It seems weird that they'd build that whole environment and not have... I reckon there'll be a mission there, definitely.
Yeah, I think a mission there makes a lot of sense, and it could be with a real-life act there. I think it's unlikely you'll be able to go, oh, it's Wednesday at 5 o'clock. Do I attend the Love Fist gig? Or do I stay in and watch the latest blistering episode of GTA 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's going to be like that.
Okay. Last question, a good one. Plosky with 3 Ks.
Yeah.
I hope that's not indicative of his beliefs.
One of the things I really deplored in GTA 4 was the fact that there was almost no access to the roofs of buildings. When you, for example, parachuted onto the top of buildings, most of the time there was no way to get off of them. What I would like to see more of are accessible ladders, usable fire escapes, climbable water drains, or whatever it is called in English, etc., etc.
Do you think this sort of thing might be in? A good question.
Well, as blessed luck would have it, one of the tidbits of info in the PlayStation rumour we referred to, this rumour monger said all this while ago, he said there are many more climbable elements in the world, such as ladders, overhand climbing, etc. So the rumour baron, who's been proved to be correct so far, suggested the same. Certainly we know that you abseil down a building, so it must be accessible from the roof, and then you know, even if it's sort of being effectively cutscene that you control, you can descend it. Now, I think given the proliferation of aircraft and, you know, parachute in the game, it would make sense if you could land on top of things and access things to do cool stuff. And that was one of the coolest things in San Andreas, would be like, you know, getting to the top of a big building and jumping out with your parachute. So I think I can see that playing a role again in this.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed this week's episode. We've had lots of stuff to get through, some really interesting stuff Dan's brought along this week. Dan, do you want to remind people about our Twitter account, which I forgot to do at the start of the show?
Yeah, please follow us on @GTAV0clock. Thanks to everyone who's joining up. We're over 1,200 members now, so we're up sort of 200-300 on last week. Yeah, please keep coming. We'll keep giving you the latest news.
You can subscribe on screen now to GTA 5 o'clock, so you don't ever miss out on an episode. And we really enjoyed your questions this week, so please do keep them coming. We always read the comment threads. Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed it. Dan, have you got anything else to add?
No, just to send my love down the well.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.